Purpose of this video today is to walk you through how to use the new and updated MiniCookie stack for RapidWeaver with the ultimate goal of creating a website which is fully compliant with all relevant privacy laws. This website is perhaps fairly typical of the sorts you might build yourself in RapidWeaver. We've got about 5 or 6 different pages here. All these pages are built using stacks. We've got a mixture of content types in some of these pages, such as embedded video. We've got some widgets here from another website, and we've got a location map, and we've also got a contact form as well. So nothing different to what you might already be working with in RapidWeaver when you're building websites of your own. Privacy law compliance is becoming quite important. Originally this is kind of a thing that started in the EU with the introduction of GDPR. Since then we've found countries and regions, particularly such as like California over in the US, have opted to create their own CCPA system, which is loosely derived from GDPR but mostly targeted towards larger companies and organisations. And then more recently Germany has devised and implemented DSVGO, which again is kind of their interpretation, if you like, of privacy laws. As you've probably heard me say before, I'm not a terribly strong supporter of these privacy laws. I think they've been rolled out and implemented quite poorly, evidently by people who have little understanding of how the modern internet works and no sort of appreciation of acknowledgement that quite a lot of modern web browsers such as Safari, Firefox and Brave already include quite a lot of privacy protection for users. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. We can't continually fight the system, so we've just got to swallow the pill and take it as it is really, and work on implementing this as best as we can. I would also add that, just because you might be living or operating a business in an area which isn't currently covered by any sort of privacy laws, that isn't an excuse for not going ahead and implementing these types of measures on your own website. Just like copyright and patents and trademark laws are kind of interpreted and enforced in a global sort of internationalized manner, so too are these privacy laws as well. So you really do want to be making an effort in implementing privacy protection for your users. It could save you a lot of time and money later on for the sake of spending a few dollars on a stack like MiniCookie, which does a lot of the heavy lifting and hard work for you already. And it also demonstrates to your potential customers that you are quite a professional outfit. You've got knowledge of how to look after them and take care of their privacy and of their data. In this video I might be making reference to a few new terms you've not heard of before, so I'll just go through those quickly. If I'm talking about a data subject, I'm basically referring to somebody visiting your website who is potentially going to share data with you. If I'm talking about a data controller, that is somebody who is responsible for the collection of data and choosing sort of what data is collected and why it's needed. If you are sort of the owner operator of the website, then typically you will already have the role of data controller. A third role could be, in some websites, would be a data processor. In the realms of something like Google Analytics, they are a data processor in that they are processing and collecting data on your behalf, but then feeding that data back to the data controller. And that's typically where you'd log into your website analytics account to view who's been looking at your website and things like that. But I'll try not to go into too much jargon and try not to make this video too long and boring, but there's just a few sort of important bits of information there that could be useful to know about. The first step on our journey of making this website privacy law compliant would be to make sure the theme we are using is compliant. Traditionally, some RapidWeaver themes used to have a lot of dependency on outside services such as pulling in fonts from a third-party font foundry. They might have used icon sets or icon libraries from another source. JavaScript libraries such as jQuery were commonly called from a content delivery network. And indeed, I've even seen a few examples of themes which used banner images, and those banner images were pulled in directly from a stock image website. You'll find the process of data and privacy compliance a lot easier if you're able to cut ties with third-party websites and try and do as much as the hosting as you can in-house, so to speak, so from your own web server. The issue at heart really is that if you've got external websites and services supplying you data, you've got personal identifiable information such as IP addresses being transmitted as part of that process. There's still a lot of argument as to whether IP addresses are personal data or not. I would sort of side with what the German government have said and said yes, IP addresses are personal data, because if you can collect enough IP addresses you can begin to build profiles on your data subjects, and that is quite risky from a privacy and sort of data protection aspect. So cutting ties with as many third-party service providers as possible is quite a wise move, and it's always good to ensure that the theme you're starting with is compliant with privacy laws, I should say. It'll just make your job far more easier, and you won't be constantly fighting against the theme to try and regain control of sort of user data, things like that. The theme I'm using in this website is my own, so I know for sure that it's compliant with privacy laws. If you're using a theme from another company and it doesn't say on the website if it's compliant, it might be worth just dropping the developer a quick email or tweet on social media or something and ask them. Or indeed you can look in the web inspector to see if there's any calls going off to places such as Google APIs and things like that. And as a final resort, you could ask on the RapidWeaver forums if anyone's got knowledge of a theme having any calls to external websites, which might be a bit questionable. Typically, themes are much better nowadays from this regard. They don't tend to have too many calls to external websites, but there are still quite a few examples out there which may still have links to other places which you'd want to try and cut. The other thing you want to do is, if you're building a website predominantly with Stacks, as I am here, is to go into your Stacks preferences, click onto this HTML tab, and just make sure that all these checkboxes for CDNs are disabled. CDN stands for Content Delivery Network. These are websites or web servers elsewhere in the world which supply things like jQuery. It's always best, and again a lot easier, if you're able to cut ties with these websites and servers and try and host all this yourself. And indeed, if you uncheck these options, and that's exactly what the Stacks plugin will do, it will host all these libraries for you, so that will make things a lot easier. First thing we're going to do on this website today is to actually set up a privacy policy page. It's quite a mouthful, that, isn't it? Privacy policy page. Ironically, this is a thing that quite a lot of RapidWeaver users tend to forget, and yet it's one of the easiest things you can add to a website, and actually quite a long way towards making your website privacy compliant. What I'm going to do is to just add a page in the normal way here, and I'm just going to call this privacy policy. And in the page inspector, I'm going to set this page to be ignored. I'm just going to update its folder name here. You might be thinking straight away, what is the purpose of a privacy policy? Why do I need one in my website? What purpose does it serve? I tend to tell my own clients that the best way to think of a privacy policy is it's a kind of risk assessment, a sort of self-assessment you do of your own website or your own company, in which you're explaining to data subjects or users of your website what data you're collecting about them, why you need to collect that data in the first place, how you're collecting that data, and typically the sort of safeguards you have in place to protect user data. That's more or less all there is involved in creating a privacy policy. You could, go to a legal entity and pay a lot of money and have one custom written for you. What I do, and what a lot of other people tend to do, is just to go online and search for a privacy policy generator. And you fill in a few details like your name, your business name, your website address and your contact details, and they'll go ahead and generate you a basic privacy policy in sort of template format. And that's exactly what I've gone ahead and created already. So I'm just going to add an HTML stack to this page, and I'm going to paste in my privacy policy. And when I preview the page, you can see here it is. It's nothing glamorous. That's why we don't include it in the main page links. It's something that probably very few people will ever need to go and see, but if they need to, it's there, and everything they need to know is explained. And if they've got any further questions or comments after reading your privacy policy, then you'd normally have a link in the policy for them to contact you for further information, or to request that information about themselves is removed. Like I say, I've not included the privacy policy in the main links here because I just don't think it's that important or that worthy enough for doing so. What I'm going to do instead is to add a link in my footer, and I'm just going to use a regular HTML link. We can type a vertical pipe symbol to make it look a bit better, and this is just a regular HTML link in which I provide the link to my privacy policy page. If I go and view the home page, or any other page for that matter, scroll to the bottom, and there it is. So this is good in that anybody can see and access it still, but it's not in a really prominent position like up here with the rest of the page links. Next step, I think, is to add our actual consent pop-up. Now, again, this is an area where there's some debate and some arguing with different people, different developers. RapidWeaver 8 did ship with its own form of cookie pop-up, I suppose you could call it. My personal advice is don't use it. It doesn't go far enough towards protecting user privacy. All it mostly does is just to display a pop-up that says, "Hi, this website uses cookies, click here to continue." It doesn't actually stop potentially harmful scripts and other form of tracking loading in the page background, and that's really what you want to be using a stack such as MiniCookie to help quarantine and prevent users from stumbling upon before they've had an opportunity to read the message and to give their consent. The sort of consent that the RapidWeaver pop-up used is called implied consent. So you're sort of implying and making decisions on the part of the user or the data subject. That doesn't fall in line with modern and particularly the German method of doing things with their privacy laws. It really does have to be an opt-in system whereby people read the message, they're shown a button, an option or a checkbox, and then they make an informed decision themselves whether or not they want that content to load. Every page of my website already has a partial called every page partial, and I'm just using that at the moment for these social media links over here on the left hand side. Into this partial I can add my MiniCookie stack configured as a pop-up. So I'm going to open the partial, open the stacks library, search for MiniCookie, drag and drop a copy into the page. In the default configuration, MiniCookie is set to get the user consent, so I'm going to leave it at that. I'm just going to add a text stack into the pop-up like this, close the library, and I've just got some very simple text to add. So the text just reads, "By using this website you agree to our cookie policy. I'm just going to change that to privacy policy, and I'm going to set that as a link to my privacy policy page. Like so. When a user comes to any page of a website now, they're going to be greeted with this pop-up message for the first time. If they are in agreement with this, they're happy to continue, they click the dismiss button. That's just going to set a simple cookie called allow cookies, and we know then that the user has given their consent, and we can continue the process then of loading third-party scripts and other functionality such as maps, YouTube videos, widgets, anything sort of like that, which depends on a third party. I'll click the back button here and save the changes. Now, I noticed an interesting issue when I first recorded this video, and that was when I clicked on the dismiss button, the pop-up didn't go the first time. And what I found is there's actually a bug currently in Stacks and RapidWeaver whereby if you create a stack as a partial and it includes some JavaScript code, it seems like either Stacks or RapidWeaver is caching the JavaScript code and not actually displaying the latest version. If you do find that, I found that just simply restarting RapidWeaver sorted the problem. And you saw then how I saw the pop-up message on my screen. I clicked dismiss and it went straight away. If you ever need to see what cookie is being set, open the web inspector, here it is here, and click on the storage tab, and you can click on cookies and you can see our allow cookies cookie has been set here. I opened the web inspector then by just right clicking and selecting inspect element. If by any chance you find that the inspect element option isn't showing for you in RapidWeaver, I believe there is a preference panel somewhere here where you can turn that on. Here it is here. So if you open your RapidWeaver preferences and select enable web developer tools, that's how you can get this little dialog to open, which is highly useful for all sorts of things, like for checking cookies and seeing what's being set. So that's good to know about. So currently we can tick off on our list that we've added the consent pop-up on every page of the website, and that's tested and we've confirmed that's working. To give users a bit more control over viewing what cookies they've collected on your website and being able to delete cookies, we can actually go ahead and add another mini cookie stack, but this time on the privacy policy page. This time I'm going to configure it to display a cookie table. We get a very abbreviated example here in edit mode, and I will just add one of my famous spacer stacks just to make the page look a little bit prettier. I'll preview the page, and this is our privacy policy page again, and it's showing a list of cookies which have been generated by the web browser. A few here are probably to do with project files I've opened and troubleshooted for RapidWeaver customers recently. I can see this GS one is probably to do with Google Analytics. Paddle.js is the shopping cart provider I use. Something else here for Google Analytics, and we've also got a cookie which has been set by RapidWeaver Multilingual at some stage. If I want to, I can go ahead and delete any of these cookies if I wanted to. Quite simple to do, like so. I can delete all cookies like that. I can reload the cookie list and back some of them come again. So yeah, this is quite a convenient feature really for allowing your website users to actually see what cookies have been set already in their web browser, specifically ones relating to your website, and they can come in here and they can delete them or customize them however they want. There are actually options in MiniCookie to have buttons to create a cookie. So prime example of that I'll show in a minute, but it could be that where somebody's clicked the dismiss button or changed their privacy preferences on your website, they might have second thoughts later on and want to come back and amend those settings, and these sorts of buttons you can create with MiniCookie enable you to do that. What we need to do as a matter of priority is to start quarantining parts of the website and preventing them from loading until a user has given their consent. The first one I want to target would be the video page here, this one called Video Tool. We've got a YouTube video here. It might look perfectly harmless, but don't forget that this is an iframe. An iframe basically opens a window for Google or YouTube to be able to see directly into your website and to see who is watching a video or even just browsing your website. They don't even have to click to play the video. If I open the web inspector again here and we go into network, we can see that there's actually quite a few calls here to YouTube. I can't click on them very easily in this video, but there's various scripts and things being loaded by the YouTube and Google website. Any one of these could potentially be used to monitor your website users. Your website users might not be aware of it. You might not be aware of it either, but it's certainly happening. And this is sort of one of the fundamental issues that these various privacy laws have come into force to try and help protect and to guard users against. You could imagine that a big company such as Google, it wouldn't be much effort for them to monitor your website users and to start obtaining IP addresses and other information. And indeed, if Google can see that your data subjects have spent an afternoon going to lots of camping and caravanning websites, they're going to start building up a profile about that data subject, and perhaps later on today or tomorrow or whenever, that data subject or that user is going to start getting a lot of adverts targeted at them for example, camping and caravanning. That's the way it works, and it's a little bit creepy and something which we really want to try and avoid if at all possible. And this is something that the MiniCookie stack can help with. So I'll just close the web inspector again here and return back to the page. So this is our YouTube code here, and all that I'm going to do is to add another MiniCookie stack to this web page. I'm going to change the configuration to, let's see, conditional display of content. And I'm going to drag and drop my YouTube code now into the if allow cookies box, which basically means that this code is only going to load now if the user has actually given their consent. We've also got an else box here where I can put an alternative message to display, or some links or buttons for people who haven't opted in to view the video, so that way they're not seeing just a blank empty space. And I have already gone ahead and set up a partial called opt-out message, and that just reads that this content cannot be shown because you've opted out of seeing content from other websites, for example YouTube. And I've just said not to worry, if you've changed your mind you can easily update your preferences here on our privacy policy page. So when I preview this page in RapidWeaver, what you'll see is, because the user hasn't given their consent yet, in other words the message box is still displayed here, we've actually been able to block the YouTube video from loading. And that means that if I go into my little web inspector again here, and we'll look on network, you'll see we've got no calls being made to Google or YouTube or anything like that. So we've actually been able to safely quarantine and protect the user from the YouTube website or Google monitoring them. if I were to dismiss the message and say, yeah, I'm okay with everything loading, and I'll give the page a quick refresh, there's our video and it works. So that's all we've got to do really towards blocking some of these background scripts and other sort of functionality from loading, is just to put them inside a MiniCookie stack which you've set to conditional display, and then you're assured that nothing's going to load in the background until the user's given their consent. This is absolutely perfect. This is exactly what a lot of the lawmakers want to see us website users doing, us website builders doing I should say, is to actually protect users, give users informed choices about what data they want to share, what content they want to see on a website, give the power back to people to decide for themselves what they want, and use stacks like MiniCookie for this purpose. We can actually carry on and work a bit more on this. I've also got here a TripAdvisor widget. I'll admit, I cheated. I just coded this myself to look like a widget, but it is fairly typical of the sort of widgets which a website like TripAdvisor might give you to go on your website. So this just displays the last review of somebody who was at this campsite. They left a review and posted a few pictures of what they did. So this top box up here, this is all we could pretend this was a TripAdvisor widget. The ones down here are just static reviews which I have typed into the website myself. If these reviews don't have any links to any other websites, then you've got nothing to worry about. If, for example, you had people writing you reviews on Trustpilot, on Facebook, or somewhere like that, and you just wanted to manually copy and paste those reviews into your website, providing you've got the permission of the person to do that, then there's no issue at all really with doing that, because these static reviews, you could call them, don't have links to any outside services. But potentially, our TripAdvisor widget here could still link to the TripAdvisor website. TripAdvisor could then, follow the same path that Google and YouTube do in monitoring who's looking at your website, who's reading reviews, what sort of trips or holidays or vacations people are looking at, and potentially to sell that data or target users later on in the day with certain adverts that they feel might be interesting to them. So it's a similar procedure as previously. I'm just going to search for MiniCookie. It's actually in the main Stacks library. MiniCookie. Same configuration as before. Want it as a conditional display. Drop that into that box there. Open partials and give it our opt-out message. That all looks fine there. I'll preview a page. So I have previously given consent, so that is loading. But if I was to go into the web inspector, storage, cookies, just going to delete my little opt-in cookie again. Get that out of the way. Refresh the page. And as you can see, it's saying, that content can't be shown because I've opted out of not wanting to see it, in other words. And it gives us a link to a privacy policy page where I could always go and change my mind. Or even you could put a button here directly underneath this message where somebody could change their preferences. I'm just going to repeat it one more time for the map. This map is using Openstreetmap, so I'm going to find MiniCookie, conditional display of content, drag that to there, partials, opt-out message, that in there. Preview page, yep, map not showing, so I'm going to say, yep, I'm okay to load third-party stuff. Refresh the page, and there is the map. So you can see that once you know the bits of your website which have potentially got links to third-party websites or servers, and you want to give people the ability to opt in of viewing that content, with MiniCookie it's quite simple to go through your website and use these conditional displays to regulate what content the data subject or the end user is shown. And on the surface it looks quite simple, but there's actually quite a lot of detailed code and things going on behind the scenes in order to accomplish all this. So a lot of the hard work has already been done on your behalf, and by buying a stack like MiniCookie in stack format, it greatly simplifies the task of making a website privacy law compliant. And indeed, MiniCookie, there are a lot of options to customize it and to actually make it look like an integral part of your website rather than something that's just added as an afterthought. We've also got a contact form in our website here. This is that issue I was telling you about again. You see that's not dismissing, so I'm just going to quit RapidWeaver quickly and restart it. There we go, and we're back. So then, contact form. Generally speaking, these are quite easy to make compliant with privacy laws. All that you've got to do is include a checkbox option at the bottom of the form, which just confirms to the user that you're going to process any data they provide in accordance with your privacy policy. On this web page, I'm using the compact form stack, which is a stack I make. Very simple setup. It actually has this option already. Let's see where it is. Consent label, here we go. So you can set up the consent quite easy, and it won't allow the form to be sent until the user has given their consent. They've actually got to check the checkbox here. If you want to, you can provide a link to your privacy policy page as well. And contact forms and things like email newsletter sign up forms would be mostly the same. You just have to get consent from the user that they know they're sending a message to you. I mean, it should be quite self-explanatory really, but you're just reaffirming that method. With newsletter sign-up forms, you have to give the option for people to automatically opt out of any newsletters they no longer want to receive from you. So every email newsletter you send out should have an unsubscribe link at the bottom, and you have to promise to be able to act upon that instruction and unsubscribe a person instantly. You can't put on newsletters now that you'll do it in 30 days time or whatever. It's got to be instant nowadays. The other thing we need to address is Google Analytics. So this website I've set up today has got tracking code, and this was entered under code. That wasn't body. Here we go. Fairly typical of the sort of code you'd use to track website activity and to monitor how often pages are visited and how many visits or how many hits particular pages get. You definitely do not want this code loading automatically. You want to give users again the option to opt in and actually get their consent before loading any sort of tracking like this. The easiest way to reconfigure this is just to take out your original code. I'm just going to cut it out like this. Again, I'm going to go into my every page partial. I'm going to add another MiniCookie stack. Set this to conditional display. Add an HTML stack. And I'm just going to paste my Google Analytics code straight in there, like so. No need to provide an else message or error or anything, because if Google Analytics doesn't load, it doesn't load. It's as simple as that, really. We don't need to actually display any particular message to the user. Obviously this will only load now if they have actually opted in and said yes, I'm okay with cookies and anything else after they've clicked your dismiss button in your consent pop-up. From my own tests, Google Analytics works fine like this. I know it says on the Google website to put your code, I think it is, towards the top of the page or something, but from my own experiments, the code works fine wherever you put it on the page in RapidWeaver, and putting it within a MiniCookie stack in a conditional display, it works just as well there. So that's the basics really of how MiniCookie works, how we can actually give people the power and the ability to opt in and opt out of different things loading in the website, different services, tracking, things like that. Worth mentioning that this has been the law for a couple of years now, but already the laws are beginning to tighten up, and we are finding that we've actually got to do a bit more to satisfy some of the lawmakers, particularly now in Germany. What they've decided is that you should provide checkboxes for users to define and opt in and opt out of different services within a website. And I'm pleased to announce that this is something which MiniCookie is able to handle for you. And what I'm going to do is demonstrate now how you can get this set up. So back onto my every page partial, I'm going to reconfigure my pop-up message, and I'm going to change this to multi-select consent pop-up. And we've got a box here before to display a message, so I'm just going to enter for the purpose of this video, I'm just going to keep it fairly short again. So I'm going to say privacy policy. Please choose from the options below. Make that a link. Okay, so I've gone through my website already, and just on a piece of paper I've sort of written down what sort of services my website uses, such as the YouTube, the TripAdvisor, the maps and things like that. And I've basically come up with a couple of different categories which I can split these different services into. I'm going to start by adding one service here, and I'm just going to call this video and maps. Combine these two together, and I'll just change my cookie name to video maps cookies. You want to change your domain name in here, as always in MiniCookie. It just helps with ensuring that other websites can't see the cookies which we create, and makes it a bit more reliable for deleting cookies. So we've got videos and maps set up so far. I'm going to add another category for customer reviews. So that will help deal with our TripAdvisor stuff. Customer reviews. And a final category of analytics. There we go. So each category here is a checkbox, and every time one of these check options is ticked or checked, it's set in a different cookie. So our first one here, video and maps, cookie name is called video and maps. Customer reviews is obviously customer review cookies. Analytics is the analytics cookies, and we just do a little description and a little title for each one, so the user knows what they are agreeing to. I'll preview the page, and no I won't, I've got to save a partial always forget to do this. I'll save the changes on the website. That's all set up there. Okay, so I'll admit it looks a bit messy at the moment. This is certainly something which you could certainly come in and rework. I think it would help to keep the descriptions a lot shorter, but for the benefit of this video, this will be fine. So what we're doing, we're giving the user, we're saying by using this website you agree to our privacy policy, hence the link to the privacy policy page, and then please choose from the options below. So we're actually categorizing now what the user can opt into and opt out of, and it's just a very simple checkbox option like so for the user to choose, or they could accept all the cookies, and clicking on this save settings just locks all those settings in place in the browser and dismisses the pop-up. So at this point we've just got to go ahead and redo our conditional display slightly to reflect these new cookies. So I'm looking here, I'll open this partial. So the one we're doing for videos is called Video Maps Cookies. I'll copy that to my clipboard, click onto Video Tool, and it was, where are we? This one here, MiniCookie. So the cookie name we're looking out for is that one. And let's see, where was it? Find Us. That was where we have the map. So select that one and change that one. Customer reviews. What was that cookie called? Customer reviews cookies. Back. So that would be under reviews. Okay, that one there is done. Have we got anything else? Analytics. So try and do this as quickly as possible to prevent it becoming the world's most boring video of watching me just mouse around all over the screen. That's right, that one there, allow cookies. Okay. So hopefully, fingers crossed, I haven't just messed it all up. I'm going to open my inspector again and just make sure we've got rid of all this. There we go. So I'll refresh the page one more time. Okay, so I'll pretend I'm a user now coming to the website for the first time, and I'm seeing now the different services which your website makes use of. So we've got videos and maps, customer reviews, and we've got the analytics. And I could pretend, yep, I'm okay with videos and maps, but I don't want to see customer reviews and I don't want to see analytics. So I'm going to click on Save Settings. That's good, the pop-up has gone. So I should find now, when I click on Video Tour, yes, perfect, I can watch about how you set up your tent or your truck and go camping and stuff like that. I could also click onto the Find Us page. There is the map, so I know how to find your campsite. But I should find that when I click onto Reviews, aha, here we go, you see. So because I've chosen not to view reviews, therefore I'm presented with this message and I can't actually see the reviews, which is quite convenient, and that might be what I've chosen to do. Of course, if you wanted to now provide options for the person to change their mind, we could add that option on the privacy policy page. Let's go for MiniCookie again, and we want to make this a button to create a cookie. So I'm going to change the button label to I want to see reviews! Exclamation mark. We know on our reviews page that the tracking cookie for hiding and showing reviews is that one. So back onto privacy policy, I'm going to change the cookie name to that one because I want to see reviews. So let's just test this again quickly. So I'm on the reviews page. I can't see reviews because I've not opted in to see the reviews. So I'm going to click onto a privacy policy page, or indeed you could set up a custom button anywhere else in the website. And I'm going to click on I want to see reviews. We'll just reload the cookie list. Customer reviews, cookie value true. So when I click onto reviews, and there it is, there's our reviews now showing correctly. Okay, so I hope I haven't lost you on this video and I haven't gone too fast. It is, I'll admit, quite a complicated setup, all this opting in, opting out, cookie names and different pop-ups and conditional displays and things like that. The advantage you've got is MiniCookie is just one single stack. And for the cost of one stack, it lets you do all this and become fully compliant with all the different privacy laws that exist, including this brand new one which is coming out of Germany quite soon if it's not out already, which requires you to add different levels of tracking and checkboxes for people to opt in and out. This project file is available as a free download on the website, so I would encourage you to download it, have a play around with it, explore the different options available, have a go at customising some of it yourself. Once you've had some practice with MiniCookie, the overwhelming feedback I've had from other people is it does get a lot easier with time, and before too long it'll be completely second nature to you. It'll just be, oh yeah, click this, drag that, type in here, job done. It's as simple as that really. It's one of these stacks which takes a bit of getting used to, but once you've had a chance to experiment with it and make your websites privacy compliant, it is a fantastic stack to use. And I say that because I use this stack in projects which paying clients hire me to set up for them. I don't touch any other privacy pop-up stacks or anything else. I only use MiniCookie now for everything. It is a fantastic stack at what it does. Never lets me down. It never fails. It's very reliable. Complies with everything that's required, and in many cases it far exceeds a lot of the legal requirements as well for what you need on a lot of websites. So definitely a good stack to use and to have a play around with. If you've got any other questions about it, then do feel free to get in contact with me via email and I shall try my best to help you. And until next time, it's goodbye for now.